Hello, my name's ArbieG and welcome to today's video. Today we are at Maggiore in Beetles Group 3 series for ART Tier 2. And yeah, we're racing with quite a few similar guys from last week, but a few others as well. Today we qualified in 6th. Unfortunately, I didn't get a capture of the qualifying time, and I messed up the capture of the race gameplay on this first race. So unfortunately, I don't have the qualifying to bring you, but we do have the actual race as we're just about to get away from a good start in 6th position here, and we're off. Got a few of the fast runners on track. You can see we've got Roadrunner Dan, Legion and No Hassle all mixing it with these tier 2 boys, so we expect them to go ahead and take the race. But we did actually take a little bit of a knock there into the first corner from a Gr.3 boy, but we're going to push on. I actually dropped back to 9th place, so not a great start, but as I always say, a race is not won in the first lap, so we'll just let things settle down a bit and see if we can move up a couple of places. So yeah, this is a 20-minute race, of which we're going to just watch down a few highlights. So we've got 2 races overall. I'm going to call this round 4, even though it's not really round 4, it's round like 7 and 8 if you think about it, but I'm going to call it round 4 because it's the 4th week this has been running, as we get ahead of J-Lad there, who ran a little bit wide, and we're just behind Lay's 1 star now, who's sort of wiggling all over the place there, so gives us a chance to push up a little bit. There's actually 2 of them in front of his, but I slip up on the inside here of Lay's 1 star, trying to take the inside line, see if I can move up a place. I don't think I'm going to get in front of Gr.3 boy, and we're just going to see if we can pinch through that. And he comes steaming through there, Lays 1 star, maybe a little bit aggressive coming through that corner. If he wanted to go around me, he needed to go around me, but there we go. As we carry on in 8th place, with Gr.3 boy just in front of us and Lays 1 star just in front of him, sitting just behind Gr.3 boy with J-Lad just behind us. So still quite a tight race coming to the end of lap 1. I'm enjoying not really racing the Beetles much before up until I started this, as I ran a little wide there, probably going to grab ourselves a penalty for the track limits as I slip inside of Gr.3 boy here, and again I just get to take a little hit on the side there. I don't think he was aware I was there, and unfortunately just take a little knock as we now come through to finish lap 1, and we come through to turn 1. As J-Lad dive bombs down the left hand side, must have outbroke himself and caught himself out there. Yeah, I've been there a few times on turn 1 here, braking a little late going into turn 1. But we've still got a Gr.3 boy just up behind us. See, unfortunately, because I didn't capture the gameplay, I don't have any of the time deltas to put on the left hand side for this race. I do have it in the second race. So the first race is based on the qualifying, which is a 5-minute qualifying session. Didn't actually do that well. I hit, I think, around about a 148, which I know I can get a 147 flat, when that was sort of the best I did in the practice beforehand. So yeah, a little bit disappointed in my qualifying performance, but quite honestly, it's not the end of the world. But we're going to skip forward now. We're about midway through lap 4. Actually, we're near the start of lap 4 as opposed to midway, but skip forward because not much has really changed. We just moved up 1 place, but we're just trapped behind Lay's 1 star now, who's been caught in a bit of a fight with the chaps up in front of him, so it's given us a chance to really pull up that gap. And now we're just sitting behind them in 6th place and waiting for our opportunity really to take advantage, as we look like we get slightly better line through there. So again, just able to keep that pressure up nice and tight as we come on through into the S-bends now. Lay's 1 star again held up by the traffic in front of him, so it gives me a chance again to push up and just see if I can find a vulnerability as he's trapped behind Red, a Vazine, I don't know. I think I'm just going to start calling him Red, and it looks like I slip up on the inside again. This is really quite deep on the inside, so I'm going to have to take this turn pretty tight. It means he's going to get a lot more exit speed on me, as we're actually both as Ghost getting rid of our penalties, and it looks like I've come out there slightly favourable, but I'm going to have to take the inside on this line, which means I'm going to have to come up the accelerator, which means he's going to get through. Yeah, and I've let him slip into that space there as he had the favourable line. As we come through now, Nice little battle there. Kind of knew that going so deep into Banky Boy, I would not have much exit speed. The problem is when you don't have much exit speed and you're on the inside line on the next turn, you have to lift off, which means you come round to the next turn and you've lost your position. So strategy wise, we're going to have to pit, and I'm just going to pit dead in the centre of the race, which is around about lap 5. So at the end of this lap I'm going to pit, as I look like I'm going to try and make the move on Lays 1 star again. Shorter space, so not able to really make his exit speed count, and I have taken that position coming out of turn 2, and we've had a slip. I've had an off there, really unfortunate off, as I just sort of made the move on Lone Star, and now I found myself in 8th position with a nice big gap that it's going to be. And look at that, womp womp. Double slippage, trying to get away too early, not really paying attention. Not a great thing to happen in your race, especially, you know, a one-off's enough, especially when you're in the wall. As I concede the place to Jay there, didn't want to get in his way and just wanted to let him push on the front. So yeah, concede my place to Jay lad, find myself in 9th place, massive gap between us and Book to Boy and Lays 1 star. So really unfortunate turn for this race. I was pleased to make the move on Lays 1 star going into turn 1, sort of made that stick quite nicely, but obviously after that wasn't really paying attention coming out of turn 2, tried to get on the throttle a little early, made the back end a kick out and found myself planted in the wall, which is completely my own fault. So it is what it is. We take that again as a learning experience. That's 2 weeks now we've kind of ruined a race with a bad off, so really need to work on that consistency. We've actually skipped forward now to the middle of lap 10. All I've been doing for the rest of the race is literally just trying to grind down the gap, which I actually done pretty well. You can see, unfortunately we don't again have the time deltas, but in terms of what I've pulled up, I actually pulled back quite a lot of time, actually setting my best lap as a 1:57.5 in the previous lap, where the tyres are pretty worn. So I said with a 20-minute race I had worked it out to be roughly around about 10 laps. That's why I went into pit at lap 5, and we've made it last through the entire race. But unfortunately, due to that off we had in lap 4, this is going to be an 8th place finish in what is a disappointed race. You know, bad slip, bad mistake, and I need to start doing better and getting a bit more consistent and having less offs really. But you know, all a learning experience again. But we're going to go into the second race now. With the second race, it is a reverse grid. So with a reverse grid, obviously it's the results from the last race in reverse. So whoever finished last now starts first, and whoever finished first now starts last. So with the position I finished in, that should put me in 3rd on the grid. So I've actually got a higher place on the grid, but just like we were trying to remember last week, the reverse grid is a bit weird. You've got to remember everyone behind you in general has a faster pace. So, you know, you've got a choice to make, which is you don't want to over defend going in the race, because you're just going to lose yourself a lot of time with the people that you're racing against, which is realistically the couple of people in front of you and the couple of people behind you. So that's something to bear in mind in the old a reverse grid, that needs to be considered. But we're going to go into the race now and see if we can fare a little bit better than race 1, which I have to admit I was a little bit disappointed disappointed by. Had a lot of little kind of knocks and little bumps, nothing too serious in the first couple of laps, and yeah, just to go and do that off in lap 4 just kind of really ruined my race for me. But we're going to start off now in 3rd position. Let's go again, a 20-minute race at Maggiore, and let's see if we can at least finish in the top half. That's kind of what I try and aim myself to do in most of these things. If I finish in the top half, I can feel pretty happy with myself. Now I think Roadrunner Dan and Legion in this race, who are a pace ahead of everyone else here, decided to sit back and let us have a race on this one. This is why you'll see them at the back, sort of drift around there to give everyone else a go. So we're in 2nd position now. As we come through now, everything's been quite nice and clean, as Yippee-ki-yay looks up on the inside, gets just in front, but I think I get a bit of a better exit speed on him, and I just come out in front. You can see there he's had to slip in back behind me, but he's gone in again on the inside, and it looks like I'm going to have to concede the place to him. I've actually given him a lot more room than what I should have done there, and ran myself over a little wide, so lost a bit of pace, and Jay's done the same as well, so he finds himself dropping back, and I'm going to have to lost a bit of pace, so I've gone on the inside to take the defence, and Booked Boy just comes in, makes a bit of contact on the right side, and actually goes in front. Maybe should have conceded the position to me. Not a clean overtake there, but no harm done. We're in third place now with a bit of traffic behind. Hassel coming up here, making a nice move, sitting on the inside, making the situation hard for me here as I'm sort of trapped on the outside of the track. I have to try and take the best line I can and see if I can get the exit speed on a few people's here as we get two people in front of us, so Lays 1 star and no hassle. Make a nice overtake there. And yeah, just found myself trapped at the side of the track there, as again I kind of take a little knock again just on the inside, getting pushed around a lot as Lays 1 star loses it there, and it gives me a chance as Red comes off a little bit and we come back through, and Red actually claims that position because I ran a little wide there, come in and we take another knock. J-Lad coming through on that inside. A lot of contact happening here on these races. We've had nothing too bad or a race ending, but it's nothing to say that none of these could have gone that way. So yeah, hoping that it's not a repeating a pattern in these leagues, but like I said, nothing too world ending at the moment, and that's just a little bit more track awareness from pretty much everyone really. But we go on the outside now as actually Jay again comes out, probably didn't realise I was there, and just come and takes a little hit again on the outside as he tries to take his preferred line. Again, nothing too serious, no harm, no foul, but we find ourselves after starting the race and actually being up in second place all the way back in 6th. Not really going to complain about the overtakes on a Banky Boy. That was about track position and just, you know, me being in an unfortunate place at an unfortunate time. That's totally all fine, and there was no contact going through there, but we've had a few little knocks and scrapes, which again nothing ending, but yeah, these feels like knocks that are happening because people aren't being alert on the track, and that's something that we that can be a little bit frustrating when you're not sure whether you should make an overtake move or not. As I look on the inside, but I don't think I'm going to have a go. No, it looked like it would have been a bit of a stretch and dipping my nose in, but it was enough to put off J-Lad, who has spun off there and has given the opportunity to go up. So yeah, I had no intention of trying to overtake there on the inside. I think I just sat on that inside just to make sure I didn't sort of, if I was a bit later into the braking zone than him, then, you know, I was going to avoid an incident there. But as I was saying, you know, nothing really insidious or anything in this. I think it's just a little bit of lack of track awareness from a few of the people in the race, and that's obviously going to cause frustration when it comes to the fact that when you try and make any kind of move with someone who's not aware of what's happening on the track, you're going to get hit and it's going to have a bit of contact. So no, you know, it's coming from the guy who last week I T-boned someone into the second or third lap, but with that one, you know, that was a case of misjudging a braking zone, which, you know, these kind of misjudgments are going to happen, but I'd like to think I've got a track awareness. You know, I know who's around me, I know not to turn into somebody on an apex, but I can name about, you know, 8 or 9 times in these 2 races where coming into an apex, you know, no one's affording each other any room and everyone wants to get into the perfect bit of the apex, and, you know, if someone's on the inside of you, you've got to take the outside. That's just how racing works, you know. Up to a certain point, there's, you know, you can't just stick your nose up to someone's inside with the hopes of making a bit of contact or making them pull out. But, you know, if you're nose to nose and you're getting to the apex first, then the other guy's got to find another way and come off the ideal line and see if they can get a better exit speed than you, or even try the cutback. But we're in lap 4 now. We're, as you can see, we've got some time deltas now on the right hand side, so about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds behind Red, and we're about 5 seconds in front of Lays 1 star, so don't really have to worry too much about behind us. Sitting nicely in 5th place now, and these two having a bit of a fight in front. So it affords me the opportunity really not to push too hard, just to sit behind them and maybe just close up that gap a little bit more as they fight each other. And perhaps what we can do is we can try and take two of these places by either a better pit or even them having an incident in court and presenting as an opportunity to get forwards, because I could get involved and I could try and make a move on them and I could try and make an overtake, but you know, to get involved with two people who are already attacking each other can often end in an incident itself. So we just want to make sure we want to avoid that. But the race is looking pretty good so far. We're in lap 5, so this is going to be our pit lap. See if we can get onto a soft pair, a pair of fresh softs, and just put the extra bit of fuel in the tank that we need, an extra 2 or 3 laps of fuel we need to get through. As we come around to the smaller banked right. In this one, as look, you can see Gr.3 and Red are really battling up for third place, and myself again just slowly closing up that gap as they are unable to take their perfect lines as they try and sort of work around each other on the track, again affording me the opportunity to pull up. I am planning to obviously go in and pit at the end of this lap, so again not a massive need for me to get really stuck in, but at worst I can put my car sort of in their range so they know I'm there, and it just gives them something else to think about. And again, you know, just on the psychological side, could force them into a mistake or force them into an off or something. Not force them into an off in terms of just hitting them off the track, but in terms of, you know, making them aware of there and making them question their judgment. As you can see there, actually make a little bit of contact there with Gr.3, but it looks like I've gone on the inside for the overtake, and Gr.3 again screaming through on the apex there. That was actually a bit more cleaner than some of the other incidents we've had, but again a bit aggressive coming through that apex. Just need to be affording people some room, as again don't look like I'm too happy about it, so I've gone up on the inside of Gr.3 here. No real reason to do this because I'm planning to pit anyway, but we're going to go through and swap over to a set of softs and take on a bit of fuel. Like I said, there's about 5 laps left of this race. I'm going to take out, and there's a possibility you could go up to 11 laps depending on how fast you get through it. So I just I got myself to 6 laps exactly, just to make sure that if I did have to pull in an 11th lap, we had enough fuel to cover it. As Lay's 1 star actually comes in behind. Not enough that I feel like I had to concede him or I was in his way by coming out pits there. And I got the fresher tyres on him. Doesn't look like he's just gone into pit, so hopefully can just concentrate on my own line, and that gap should start to pull apart with the difference in the tyres and sort of the pace we had on him before. Gr.3 about 12 seconds ahead, and Red about, you know, should still be having a fight. And the interesting sort of move I've done is I'll undercut them on the pit stops. They still have to make a pit stop at some point, and I'm on the fresher tyres now, so I've got to really make this a lap count. If I can make this lap count, I could possibly move up 2 places and get myself my first podium, which would be really good to get on podium for the first time. And you can see already the advantage that the tyres are having, an advantage that the fact that I've got a bit of open track in front of me. I've ground that time difference now, so we're only 10 seconds behind Gr.3, and we just push that a little bit more, we're definitely going to be in a good place to overtake when he eventually comes into pit. And obviously with the contact that's been going on this race, you know, maybe this is the best way to get the overtakes without having the race go down and fall apart, is actually using the pits to do the overtake with the undercut. As we come round now to what is the end of lap 6, ArbieG's come in for his pit, as has Red as well, and Gr.3. So this is real, the key moment here. Have I built up enough of an advantage being 1 lap early on the softer tyres to pull up and get in front of everyone, as Red now comes out, so not going to get in front of him. Looks like ArbieG's just coming out now as well, and we've got up in front of him, as is Gr.3. So that's worked out really well. You can look at that, we've got a 3-second gap up on ArbieG, and Gr.3's nowhere in sight as well. Don't know what happened to ArbieG. He seemed to maybe have a bit of mistake Red, on the other hand, did really well. Mustn't have taken on a huge amount of fuel because he seemed to come out those pits really quickly. I'm not sure if he's changed his tyres as well. He might have just taken on the fuel he needed and went it out. So we were trapped behind Red for the best part of the last race with about 2 or 3 second gap, and we didn't really grind it down that much. So be interesting to see now with the 3 laps that are remaining, sort of 3 or 4 laps that are remaining, whether there's anything we can do on Red. But this is a great position to be in here. 3rd place, again, if we can finish here, it'll be our first podium. We've got Yippee behind us, about a second and a half. So he's actually, since we've last been here, which was we've moved forward about a lap, he's actually ground that gap down to about a second and a half. So he's probably who would need to be concerned about more than trying to catch Red, which again, that gap's been ground down as well, 3 seconds. But we could foresee a situation here that if I catch up with Red and Yippee catches up with me, then we're in a situation where I'm in the middle of a sandwich where I either have to make an attack on Red and get past him before I become embroiled in such a fight that Yippee manages to get past me, you know, through the fact that I'm not taking a perfect line through a lot of the turns. And Red's actually had to come in. You can see he's actually only on 4% fuel, so he must have misjudged the fuel maybe on his pit, or maybe just had a different strategy to everyone else. I thought he pitted in very quickly, but you know, that's actually great for us. We moved up now into 2nd place and actually have gained a little bit time on Yippee about 0.8 of a second since we last checked. So we're now just over 2 seconds ahead. So this is actually starting to look really good now. We've got to hold this in for 2 more laps, and we've managed to maintain this gap between us and Yippee since sort of he come out of pit. So really just got to carry on doing more of the same. Lap time wise, you can see my last 2 laps hitting those mid 157s, which is kind of the best I was seeming to do when it comes to race pace, which I'm relatively pleased with that. I think I can, if I did a bit more practice, I think I can sort of get into the 156s, maybe the 155s. I think I admit I didn't give this car and combination and track combination as much practice as what I should have done. But again, learning experience. In terms of no hassle in front of us, you know, a clear 15 seconds in front of us. I think he's definitely got the race pace on most of us here in the tier 2. So not really thinking about him unless he does something really, really unfortunate and finds himself facing the wrong way. Not really much to do here. So again, it's just to focus on the gap between myself and Yippee, which remains consistent, drifting between 2 seconds and 2.5 seconds, which is kind of what we want. We don't want to push things too hard as we come through now and actually run ourselves a little wide there. I'm going to probably pick ourselves up another track limit penalty. That corner has caught us out a couple of times, and we've gone on the accelerator a little early on the turn before, and that's just made us run a little wide. As the gap now comes down to 2 seconds, and that half-second penalty we've got to consider as well. Again, not too much of a threat as we look like we're in the last lap now with, you know, 1:40 of the race remaining and almost an entire lap to go. So it looks like this is going to be the last lap of the race, and if we can hold this, this will be a great result. Like I said, I wasn't not necessarily like completely frustrated. I appreciate these things happening, especially in these tier 2s. I was a little bit frustrated earlier on, especially in this race, a little bit in race 1, but especially in this race with the few knocks and scrapes that we took, which, you know, the contacts are going to happen, but again, it's when it's that making contact because you're just not aware of anyone being there, and making contact because you've broke or misjudged something, or you've just lost control. You know, those things you can't really avoid. You know, people are going to lose control, people are going to misjudge the braking zones, but you kind of at least expect everyone to be aware of what's around them on track, and hopefully we will see that clean up in the next few weeks. As we, again, gap staying nicely around that 2 second mark. Yippee has ground off about half a second, but it sort of seems to bounce up and down as there's a couple areas in the track I seem to be a bit stronger in, and there's a couple areas of the track he seems to be a bit stronger in, and that kind of conflates and increases the gap in between us. But it's been overall a fun race. I think the real key part was the pit stop, going in 1 lap earlier than everyone else, really seemed to make the difference in terms of just making that one lap I had on the fresh softs whilst everyone's sort of on really worn softs really sort of made a difference in terms of the gaps. Maybe might have been a little bit more efficient with my refueling as well, taking a little bit less time in my pits. That seemed to maybe have an impact because I seemed to jump up quite a lot through that, and we now come down and secure that second place, which like I said, my first podium. Didn't really have much hope of getting in front of no hassle, but to come out of the top of all that, yeah, we took a little penalty on the end there for not grinding it down, but not enough to lose a place. And yeah, that's the first time I've got on the podium in an ART race, so pleased to do that, and really good fun racing overall. Like I said, with a few grumbles here and there, but nothing that would really end the race, which, you know, who am I to complain? I literally smashed someone off the track last week, so you know, practice what you preach and all that. But yeah, that has been it for today's racing. So that's it for, again, I'm going to call it round 4, even though it's technically round 7 and 8, but I'll do it by the weeks it goes through. So we're round 4 of what is, I think, like a 10 round series now. I thought it was originally a 5, but I think a few more races have been added on, so we're going to be going with this Beetle series for quite some time, racing against these people, and hopefully we will get to learn the different sort of people that are in here and how to race against them, and how we'll try and do our best in terms of the standings. Unfortunately, the results haven't been released yet, so I can't bring you the points in terms of the standings, but once they become readily available, I'll share them on my Twitter and all that kind of stuff. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to do the usual stuff you do on YouTube, you know, like, subscribe, all that other smooth jazz. But for now, I've been me, you've been you, and I'll catch you guys really soon. Alright, cheers, bye.